What is up, everybody? Welcome. I know it's been a while, I'm sorry, but I'm back. I just want to say right off the bat that this video was heavily inspired by my good friend Claude Ruel. He's done something quite similar over on his channel. You should really check him out if you're interested in guitar stuff, because it's rather excellent. I'm gonna drop a link in the description. So how do I teach myself stuff? Many of you know that I'm self-taught, I've talked about it in a couple of videos, I've been replying to some of your comments, but how exactly did I learn all this, everything I show you on the channel? Part of it is from transcription. I have many videos where I show you my process, transcribing a piece from scratch. Part of it is because it's fun, part of it is because I want to show you something cool, but it's also a good, opportunity for me to learn something new. So what am I talking about? Basically, the whole idea behind all this is to pick a reference piece and do your own version of it that is a complete rip-off, essentially. I think this works because when you're composing, you put your own twist to things and they tend to stick maybe a little bit more than if you were only to be transcribing. And don't get me wrong, transcribing is great, I still do it to this day. I show it on the channel, pretty frequently. So how can we replicate the process? I've picked a simple cue from one of the Harry Potter movies, and basically what we're gonna be trying to do is get the essence of it and try to compose something with it that matches the style. So let me first show you a little bit of the reference that I had in mind. So as you can see, I've already done a little bit of work ahead of time, creating my own version of it. I don't want to waste your time. If you want to watch the whole process of creating this little piece, I have it on my Patreon as part of a speed writing series that I do every month, alongside, of course, the files for this session as well. So what's the essence of this piece we just listened to? We're in G major, right? We could change the key. It's not massively important to stay in G major, but we have some simple chords. Put my headphones on first. So I was saying I would loosely transcribe what we have over here and try to analyze it. So the whole piece is made of a few simple chords, at least the A section, right? Of a G pedal tone. So we have a G, and then it goes to C over G, essentially, right? And then for the B section, the orchestration changes slightly, right, alongside the harmony. So we go to chord 4, C major, and then chord 5, D. So now that I know all this, the harmony would basically be the starting point of my own piece. But what about the melody? Let's have another quick listen. Okay, so pretty simple. Once again, just like a diatonic melody over the chords we discussed. At this point, I would basically try and find the core ideas that make this melody characteristic and make it, sound unique. And to me, just by listening to it, is having, some longer kinds of notes on the first half of it, and, the more active part on the second half of the melody. With my own piece, I once again would try and do something that is similar. So this is what I ended up writing. So that's the first part, and remember, for the second half we're going to be doing something more active in a similar vein of the reference, right? Something quite simple. And you might have noticed I made a little change that wasn't in the original, right? That wasn't in the reference. I went to this E minor chord, and then D major, and then C major, while on the original we stayed on the G, pedal tone, essentially. And this reinforces the idea of trying to make things your own, right? You don't have to copy it Exactly, even if it's just an exercise, right? I think it's quite important to reinforce the idea that the whole point of all this is to make things your own, right? Get creative with it. Otherwise, you might as well just be transcribing the piece. That's all there is with harmony and melody. So pretty simple stuff. Not every single piece is going to be as simple as this one. But what about the orchestration? So we only really have 3 elements. So one of them I actually literally just noticed now, and we don't have it in our own version. We could try and add it in. We basically have some string spiccatos in the background playing the, rhythm and the melody on clarinet. And as the clarinet plays, the more active part at the end of the phrase kind of takes over the accompaniment, right? With the rhythm that goes into the B section. Have a listen to this. This phrase doesn't stop, right? It carries on. And basically the clarinet continues on the accompaniment. So it's a very smooth kind of transition. And this whole idea is something I've used on my own piece as well. So that's the essence of this orchestration. How can we reuse it? The very first thing I tried to do was to find, my own kind of pattern. And that's simply because if we are to copy the rhythm as well as the harmony, as well as the orchestration and everything else, the piece is literally gonna sound the same. So I just spent a little bit of time, playing with a few patterns, and I came up with something that is similar, but it's a little bit different from the original. So that's what I would oftentimes do. Just, once again, trying to make things my own. So let's have a listen to my own accompaniment. So here's what we have for the strings. Right, so just a little bit different from the original. So we said we're missing the harp. Let's try and add something in. Pretty simple. Just gonna quantize and turn the velocity down a little bit to make space for the melody. So that's basically the accompaniment. We said for the melody we had some clarinets, so that's exactly what I did. Remember how we said the more active part at the end of the section kind of merges into the accompaniment? That's exactly what I did over here. So you see that in the B section, the clarinets become part of the accompaniment together with strings. What about the orchestration for this B section? Let's have a listen. We have a new element now coming in, which is the French horns, and that's precisely what I did in my own version as well. So let's have a listen to the French horns. And if we put everything together, sounds like this. All right, so loosely referencing the original, we go to chord 4, we have a similar kind of orchestration, we put our own twist to it with a couple of things that are not there, just to make it our own a little bit. And we now go into the repetition of the theme. And that's when, to me, we can start to get a little bit, creative with it, because we've already learned what we wanted to learn. Right, that is, the core essence of what makes this piece unique with the harmony, you know, the melody with a little descending phrase, and the orchestration, you know, the string spiccatos, the clarinet melody, and the French horn. So I would basically now ask myself, where can I take it? How can I take it further? And I would try and experiment with it a little bit, experiment with a different instrument for the lead melody, experiment with some different kind of textures in the background, something like that. And what I ended up doing is basically replacing the clarinet melody that we had at the start with some flutes and violins. And you see how even compositionally we're starting to get a little bit more creative, you know. I'm reusing this little pattern, the descending phrases, to kind of lead ourselves back into the A section, right? With a little ascending run now. Doing some counter phrases on the other woodwinds, you know, as we just heard on the clarinet. And different doublings that were not in the reference, like the bassoons, you know, basically in the bottom end, and some trumpets you can hear. And same ideas will apply to the section that follows. I think I ended up keeping the French horns for the lead, just like in the reference. But with the background stuff, I experimented with a few different things. So let's have a listen to the strings. So basically, we have a violin that doubles the top line on the French horns and some measured trios. And what about the rest of the orchestration? So let's have a listen to brass, for example. So we basically have some accents on trombones and trumpets, right? They're gonna make much more sense in context with the rest of the music. So let's play that. And then what follows is basically an outro that is based on everything else we've already done. So this is how I would basically teach myself how to compose and orchestrate something in this style, you know, by first trying to figure out the essence of the reference. Yep, the harmony, you know, a little bit of the melody, what makes it unique, and then the orchestration, and then experiment with these concepts to make them my own a little bit and try to get creative without diverting too far from the reference. That's it, really. I would just try and make a simple exercise out of it if I'm not feeling like transcribing the whole thing. So let's have a listen to everything together and then we'll call it a day. Once again, you can find the session files and the MIDI file on my Patreon alongside a video, a 2 hours video of myself creating this little piece. So let's have a listen.